Do I like Western comics in general? Grew up reading Western comics. Is I've also really loved Zorro and all the different incarnations of Zorro, whether it be the Guy Madison, Guy Williams, Disney show, whether it be the William Whitney Zorro's Fighting Legion, whether it be all the different movies of it. And the thing that I thought was just such a great idea was the idea of taking like the most famous fictional Mexican Western hero and putting him with one of the newer famous black fictional Western heroes and putting them together and having them fight oppression more around California, Arizona way.
It's a beautiful thing. Or as Quentin said, when I threw the idea to him, he said, they both had O at the end of their names.
Yes.
I said, yes. And he said, black and brown fight together. One of the many things I love about Quentin is that I don't have to hide my political agenda because it's the same as his.
Yeah, right.
So he was excited for the same reason I was, that this was the coolest idea ever. So I called Nick, I said, let's do this.
Didn't know how that would mesh, and Quentin might be an asshole. I might be an asshole, you don't know.
Yeah.
And it turned out, it just felt like we've kind of known each other for years.
Oh no, absolutely.
We're about the same age, we got the same points of reference, we love the same stuff, and it was just kind of like, boom, let's roll.
Well, it was actually, one of the things that was actually really interesting about it was, I'm looking at, first, I was like, well, we'll take care of Django when we get to it. This has got to work as a Zorro book.
Yeah.
As the next extension of the Zorro book, and you're going to be those are your Bibles. All right, so I'm looking to him as the Zorro expert. However, I have seen a lot of the different Zorro or Zorro-ish type of movies and serials over the course of the years, and then just when I heard about the idea of Zorro Django, I started rewatching some of them and trying to brainstorm. So I was like, well, hey, what do you think about this? And maybe we could attack the story this way. But it's like, you're going to know what's best as far as Zorro is concerned. But let me show you these ideas and whatever. And then literally, it was just kind of one foot in front of the other. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's do this. Let's do that. But we watched about like 3 hours of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Quentin, go ahead. When you start working with people, you like to screen movies for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we're going to watch movies all weekend. Okay, all right, great. And so we watched a bunch of great movies and kicked around a bunch of great ideas, and everything just started to flow. Just ideas were popping. I said to you, there was a lot of, yes, I love that, flying back and forth across the table.
And the thing with Django is, if I don't know if I'll ever do a movie sequel to it, but if I did, it would kind of, it would have to be connected to something to the first movie in kind of an epic kind of way. But I always did love the idea of there being, and me and Reggie talked about it, there being like Django paperbacks. Just like the further adventures of
Max Brando.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, or Splintering on a Mind's Eye or something. That's just their own little adventure. But when we actually went to talk to people about doing them, I could never just let go. I couldn't just let go and let some guy do it, and I'd read their synopsis and I'd go, oh, you're effing up the mythology. That's not what Django would do, and Schultz actually really doesn't feel that way. So I did want to do something like that, but I knew I just couldn't quite let it go. And this was the perfect opportunity to me. And also I was so happy with the way the Django Unchained comic book came out that I was like, oh, no, I think this is the way to follow the story.
Man, it's great. And again, as you can tell, when Quentin and I first started hanging out 15 or so years ago, before whatever I guess you were prepping for Inglorious, right?
Yeah,
that was still in the works. We watched Zorro shorts before the main features, so...
For Inglorious?
Yeah.
Right. And one of the...
Well, yeah, I have like all, 13 chapters. So when I would show a movie, I would try to get through a new serial. So I would just, every time I show a film, I show the next chapter of the serial.
Exactly. And one of the things, after Django, Quentin and I had spent basically every day together for 2 years. Right? So after the movie was over, I was like, okay, let's go back to our lives.
Yeah.
Marvel black and white mags from the 70s. So like, Dracula Lives, Tales of the Zombie, Savage Sword of Conan, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. And that's my era too. And you have to remember, those of you a little too young, you know, those magazines were put out at the time to escape the comics code. And they weren't racked with regular comics. They were always on the upper magazine racks in the magazine stores. And so as a 13-year-old, they felt really dangerous and illicit.
Yeah.
You know? You'd go over and you'd like, take one of them, see if anyone was watching. And so we geeked out over those for
well, just
an hour probably.
Well, as we got together, I had just like completely reconnected with my love of 70s era comics, and started following some characters that I hadn't that I didn't read when I was younger. But I sort of fell in love with Morbius the Living Vampire, read everything, and I fell in love with Tigra the Werewolf.
Tigra, yeah.
Love Tigra the Werewolf. You know. I'm plowing through West Coast Avengers right now to finish her arc. So I was all involved with all of that, and it was just the perfect time to go over and brainstorm the story.
Yeah.
So for my second question. Are we that far ahead?
We're so fast.
The first script I ever wrote, True Romance, the whole Sicilian stage. Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper.
Just two guys sitting talking. Yeah. Fraught with tension.
Well, it was funny because it's like, I liked all the stuff I'd done after that, but it was my first script. And I knew I had never topped that scene, just as a scene was concerned. I go, well, that's definitely the one to beat, and I've come close, but I haven't topped it. And when I wrote the scene in Inglourious Basterds, I was like, oh, I think I finally matched it.
And you were lucky to have Christoph to...
Yeah, well, yeah, he pulled it off.
Nailed it, yeah.
But the thing is, though, is I ended up writing that scene and then couldn't figure out the rest of the story, so I had to put the script away. But I always knew I would eventually finish it at some point because that scene was too good not to make.
Right.
First things first, try to get it on the film festival circuit. That's one of the most important things. That makes you legit. Enter it in different film festivals. There's festivals all over America, all around the world. Enter it into them, and then if you can, literally go to all those different festivals and just kind of see how the film plays with the audiences, get to know the other filmmakers that are on the same circuit with you, the other different movies, and that's how I built my career. I was even talking to my agent the other day that went all around the world with Reservoir Dogs. I'd hardly been anywhere. I barely left Los Angeles County. I mean, I had, but not that much. And then all of a sudden I was going to different continents, all in the course of 1 year. And a friend of mine said, hey, this movie's gonna be your passport to the world, and it was. And the thing is, from going there and doing press and meeting other filmmakers, that set up kind of my career. That 1 year on the film festival circuit. I think the same thing happened with you, Reggie, with House Party.
Absolutely.
It set up my entire career, basically. You know, especially the international career that I ended up having. Actually is an idea. It's a little flower right now. It's a little bean sprout. All right, but those bean sprouts tend to turn into bean stalks. And so now, this would be the first time I wouldn't say, no, not really. This is the first time, well, maybe.
Yeah, right on.
It wouldn't be, you know, it wouldn't be actually, you know, it wouldn't be a spaceship-y kind of thing, you know, traveling through space, going to other planets. It would be more of a earthbound sci-fi thing, but sci-fi nevertheless.